I'm looking at this beautiful scene, wondering what to say, when really there is nothing to say. It's just a beautiful scene. This is the Temple of Time, not exactly the same as it is in Ocarina of Time, but still familiar, and it has the same music, probably completely unchanged. We don't get to do another backwards statue minigame, which is unfortunate in my opinion, but other people are probably happy about that. This room is freaking gorgeous. Just look at this room. I'm pretty sure that in Ocarina of Time, in the room with the Master Sword, you can't even see the ceiling, unless I'm just wrong about that. Blah. So much blah going on. And I like how huge these windows seem to be from this distance. And this is what I was talking about earlier with this game. Just, it's a great mood setter. It's great for stress relief. Because it's not super hard, it's just great atmosphere. And then all of that atmosphere is abruptly stopped by this frickin' chicken head. I say chicken head even though the only thing that's not chicken about his body is his head. Or her head, I guess. Because Uku is the mom. And the window just kind of appears. Okay. And disappears. Yeah, not the highest budget effects there, but it'll work. It'll do. That'll do, pig. That'll do. Unexpectedly, the Temple of Time is actually a temple this time, and not just a room. Which I thought was a really cool thing about this game. After having played Ocarina, and always thinking that the Temple of Time was weird for not being a full temple, this was like all of my fantasies coming alive. And it's probably the shortest temple, too. Well, I say probably. Yeah, I would say it's the shortest temple by far. And most of the temple... Well, not most of the temple, but like half of the temple is just going backwards from the end to the beginning. Not really sure how to explain it. Like, this temple, you go forward and then you go backward. One half of it is going forward, one half of it is going backwards. There's a different way to do this puzzle. I could have gone over there and gotten that statue, but I don't want to. I do things my own way. Because I lead my own life. I am my own density. Speaking of which, quoting Back to the Future 2 with that, Back to the Future 2 is... It's my least favorite of the 3 Back to the Future movies, and yet it's somehow the most quotable and also has my favorite concept of the 3 movies. It's weird how that works. Because I just didn't feel anything from watching it. I thought that maybe I should. I thought, wow, this is a really clever idea and it's done really in a cool way, but... Maybe it just didn't have the same impact on me because Okamiden already did all the stuff that I was seeing in Back to the Future 2 whenever I finally watched it later. Because Okamiden definitely has a Back to the Future vibe to it after, again, the ending parts of the game. But that's spoilers. Well, it is kind of in the same vein as Zelda games, so... If you, again, another game to look into if you like Zelda would be Okami and Okamiden. Because it's totally one game. And I was surprised at how similar Okamiden feels to a console game despite being on the DS. Okay, gonna bring this pot here. I've been saying okay a lot, and I recognize that, but it's just a filler word, you know? Just like sort of. Sort of's a filler word, but then sometimes sort of means everything, like after I love you. Or it's a boy! Dimitri Martin for the win, even though I don't watch much of his stuff. I remember watching his whole, well, what do you call it whenever it's a comedy routine? It's a routine. There we go. His whole routine on If I found that one fascinating. It's not very comedic, but just really interesting as a look on his life and his thoughts on wordplay and, like, what he did with his life. You know what I should have done? I should have paid that guy before this dungeon, but it's too late now. I'm just gonna have to pay the Pied Piper after this dungeon's over. Probably the most different-looking Armos in the series. Because the Armos in Wind Waker look very similar to the ones in Ocarina, but in this game, these Armos are just, like, totem poles and Easter Island heads and Uka Uka. Or maybe Aku Aku, one of those. Maybe that's just fresh on my mind because I know that Crash Bandicoot is getting a remake. And I've never really played Crash Bandicoot. I should, but I don't own any sort of... I own a PlayStation 2, but I just don't have that game, so... But Crash Bandicoot, at least... I don't know if I would like the first one very much, necessarily... Excuse me! I don't know if I would like the first one as much, because it seems to have some sort of weird design choices. I can't think of any specific examples, but... I feel like the other two afterwards seem more polished. I have played Crash Bandicoot Wrath of Cortex, but I don't have the greatest memories with that game, probably just because of the time period surrounding whenever I played it, and not really necessarily because of the game itself. I think I'll just go ahead and go up here. But the remake looks cool. It definitely has some very fluid animations, and I think it added something where Crash gets hit by all the boxes that he misses throughout the stage. And that's kind of humorous, because Bandicoot abuse. Yes. I'm sure that nobody has seen any of the Garfield cartoons. Not the comics, but I'm referring to the like actual TV show cartoons. But there's one when Garfield talks about, oh, it's not time for food yet, it's time to abuse the dog. And I think that's a hilarious line, even though I don't remember it exactly. I would love to know how to sequence break this reliably, because generally sequence breaking isn't something I do, but I have gotten this to work before, where I've just sat on the switch for a moment, and then jumped up there as the platform was going up. It's definitely possible. I'm just gonna give it a couple goes. Okay, one more try. One more try. Nope, okay. Just know that it is doable, and it would have been nice to do there, because I just screwed that up horribly. Would have saved me some time. These totally look like they're from Skyward Sword, even though Skyward Sword came out later. Maybe Skyward Sword's inspiration came from that statue, just that one statue. Like those commercials where that guy is saying, well, we can do anything we want to with your house. There's all this, we have all these mansions lined up for you, what would you like? And then the girl at the desk says, okay, can you design a house around this? And she brings out a little tap faucet and sets it down in front of him because it's this sleek faucet. And it's like, hey, this is the design that you're going to remember. And sure enough, I remember it, because how weird is it to just say, hey, design this house around a faucet? But I guess it's not that weird, because if you like a modern design, then... Shoot, what am I doing? I know what I'm trying to do is I need to get another statue so I can put it down on the other switch. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to pull it back, I guess? But where is the other statue? It must be on the bottom floor. Darn it! I just ruined everything again. Team Rocket is blasting off again. I wish there was more of an indication of which way is up and which way is down, okay? Counterclockwise is down. Good to know. Now we know. And knowing is half the battle. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. That phrase always kind of confused me, because how are you supposed to know, whenever screwing something in, whether you're turning the top side of it right or the bottom side of it right? Because both of those would be right. And it turns out it's the top, but it just didn't seem very helpful to me until I learned that. I like the designs of these little statues. Just how they have... These look more like the traditional Armoses. These statue things here. Because they have the little horns. Little dinky horns. Shoe horns. They just shoehorned them into the game. Yeah, more of you, Armoses. With your strange, like, crinkled-up-looking axes. And your glowing tattoos. Hey, you might be Midna's friend. Or maybe you're from another planet. That would be a really strange twist for a Zelda game, is going to another planet. Not just going to the moon, going to an entirely different planet. Imagine Super Zelda Galaxy. Because at this point it's hard to think of many places that Zelda hasn't gone. It's already hard enough thinking of where Mario hasn't gone, because he has his own Galaxy games. And I think that there's supposed to be a third Super Mario Galaxy at some point. And I hope there is, just because, well, I've kind of given up at this point thinking about the possibility of some kind of new collectathon Mario game. One in the style of 64 or Sunshine. But we have a Hat in Time and we have Yooka-Laylee, so that's close enough, I guess. And I prefer the Super Mario Galaxy formula over the 3D World and 3D Land formula. Just because there's more freedom to the control. Okay, what did I just say? Counterclockwise is down, which means clockwise is up. But we don't even need to go up, we're going over here. I am the smartest. I am so good at Zelda puzzle. Bow down to me and my amazing puzzle ability. This is a pretty fancy Temple of Time. Kinda looks like it has this Greek flair to it. Oh, hey. Foreshadowing. Not that there would be... If you're not paying attention to all these little details, then there's not much foreshadowing in this dungeon at all, but... You see this rod in this person's hand. I've never really noticed this before, but that's the item that we're gonna get. And you don't necessarily know what the item does. Which I guess is one of the cool things about this dungeon. In most Zelda games, you know pretty much exactly what item you're going to get as you're going through the dungeon, because there's these clear just signs of... Well, in the Lakebed Temple, for example, you have all these things that are very clearly like, oh, you hook here to get to a new place, and you know that you're going to get some kind of a hook shot or claw shot. Or... Well, I'm trying to think of other examples in this game. Like, what items do we have? As I'm getting attacked by a laser. The boomerang... Well, maybe the boomerang isn't so obvious. And now, come to think of it, this game does a pretty good job, for the most part, of not really letting you know what item you're going to get before you get it. In Ocarina of Time, I think maybe it's more predictable. Or maybe I'm just talking out of my behind here, and nothing that I'm saying actually is what I'm thinking. Now, the last time I went through here, these Lizalfos were getting all up in my grill. And so I put them in my grill and said, hey, your new name is George Foreman, and then I made a Lizalfo burger. They were being kind of problematic. And I can't explain why, because whenever I attacked that one just now, it was ridiculously easy to defeat. It went down like nothing. But there were these big, long battles with lots of waiting whenever I tried them last. Now I'm just slashing randomly. It seems like sometimes the best strategy for a Zelda boss fight, or Zelda fight in general, is just don't even L-target. L-targeting just puts you back. Because the game expects you to L-target all the time. So whenever you don't, then it throws off the game, and you get the upper hand. I say as I get zapped by rolling directly into these lasers. You know, people always talk about how Zelda technology is going too far in new Zelda games. But it's never really not had crazy technology. Come to think of it, what's even in the first game? The first game has ladders, that ladder bridge that you walk across. That's not really much of technology. Lanterns aren't really much of technology. But then, maybe a rod that shoots fire kinda is. Maybe a boomerang that always actually comes back to you instead of only kind of comes back to you is fancy technology. I don't know. I mean, that's suspension of disbelief, of course. Go back. One thing that's sort of new in the world, in my world, is introducing a subreddit and Discord for my own stuff and for people who are fans of mine. And I imagine, based on the viewer base of this channel right here, this Let's Play channel, probably everyone who watches this already knows, but I haven't really looked at the Discord or the subreddit much. I've looked at the subreddit more, because it's kind of... it doesn't seem to have as much activity, but I enjoy the stuff that's on it all the time, because it's usually more creative stuff and more, like, relevant, I guess. And the Discord is more just kind of general discussion. And being the selfish jerk that I am, I tend to mostly focus on my own work whenever I'm talking about my community of people. I don't know. These are things that I think about a lot, like, how do I really interact with my fan base? And I don't know what the answer is, because some people are able to do that much better than I am. Some people know how to interact with their fan bases just on a much more... I don't want to say intimate, because that's not really the right word, but... like, on a level that's more personal than what I'm able to present. But I hope that these Let's Plays are kind of along the line of doing that. The only problem is that most people don't watch these. Okay, can I get on the chest? No, I can't get on the chest. I can't stand on the chest and stop the chest from breathing, because standing on a person's chest is kind of uncomfortable. I assume. I have never tried it, and I have never been the chest in question.